Yeah, as you can see, I came in here Monday and mowed this down. Now, I'll let it start growing, and probably the first week of July, July 4th weekend or whenever, I'll come in and put Roundup on this and get it killed off, burnt down, so that it's completely out of here. By the end of July, it'll all be killed off, and I can start tilling the ground for the fall food plots. But you want to get it mowed off early enough, get rid of some of that residue, and then let it set for at least a week or so, 10 days, let it start regrowing. Now once it starts regrowing, then you put your Roundup on. If you mow it and then put the Roundup on right away, it will work, but it'll be a prolonged, because nothing will be growing. You got to let, after the cutting, it'll regroup and start growing again, and that's when you want to put your Roundup on, when it's growing, not when it's just in the shock of being cut. And like I say, here's some more of those stumps. They're just, you don't need to leave them up here, especially the ground's moist now, and they ought to pop that right out, and that'll just enhance that, because you're up here trying to cultivate, and you got to work around these. So good moisture, can't work in town. Find something to do, enhance your food plot growth. So today's the day we're going to do that. Today we're going to come back in here and take some tree stumps out on these fall food plots. Cut this tree off last year. I got several of them. I'm going to take the stumps out. It's rained a lot, so it's pretty moist out right now. So those stumps ought to come out as easy as they're ever going to come out. Not that they're going to come out easy, but right now would be the most conducive time. Last year when I sawed the tree off, we was in a drought, and those stumps would be like set in concrete. So now's the time to get the stumps out of your food plots if you want to. It's not a necessity that you get them out, but it sure makes it a lot easier. You don't run into them, and so it just makes it a whole lot better. Yeah, you just seen how hard that was to get that stuff out of there. That's a hickory stump, and they're in there solid. Now, if that ground would have been perfectly dry like it was last fall when we cut that down, I'd have never got that out of there. So, just trying to make sure that you get a little more growing space, get that root system out. That way you won't run into it when you're filling up the field either. So, they're tough. Hickory's tough. Well, you can see in the background we've got the stumps out. When you're developing a food plot, it takes time. You have to study the layout of the land, the design. You don't want it just a circle. If you can get it where the deer are going alongside of it, you can get it inside in it with the tree stand with the wind in your favor. That way they got to traverse along the edge, the linear movement of the deer. That'll put you in a good position to get a 15-20 yard shot if that happens. But you got to keep studying your food plots. You want to take out some undesirable trees There's an old elm right there. We're going to take that out. That's doing nothing but drawing moisture out of the ground, and in a drought, that'll suck it out of your food plot. You want to study the canopy. Last year we trimmed some trees up. This year we're back in here taking some out, taking the stumps out. It's just an ongoing management program. You cannot do it in one setting. You have to do a little, see the results, come back the following year and do a little more. It takes a lot of time, money, and effort. And study. As that sun comes up, you got good sun here in the morning, you're going to have a little in the afternoon. It's not too bad to have some shade, especially if it gets really hot. That'll shade your food plot up and it won't let it draw the moisture out of it as fast under the shade. So a little shade's all right, but too much, you're going to get marginal results. So that's it from the non-typical Norwalkian, critiquing the food plots, taking out the stumps. The main reason I'm taking the stumps out, keep in mind, you could leave the stumps in if you don't have a machine. Just saw them off close to the ground. But it's a lot better. It's a lot easier when you come in to plant them that you don't have those to run into. And well, that's it from the woods. Have a good day. Well, good morning. This would be the 17th day of July. July is over half gone now. It's time to really get serious about your fall annual food plots. Now these food plots will be plots that you may hunt over. Basically that's what you'll be hunting over. And we're going to do a soil sample test. And we picked up this tool to do that with. You insert it in the ground, you'll see how it works. And you can see the burn down, the Roundup has worked in the background. It's burnt this vegetation down. It's been on there for a couple weeks. It's critical to get that burnt down. And when you plant some of these food plots, you definitely have to make the whole secret to it is making a proper seed bed. So if you are a little laxed on getting the preparation done, then it's going to show in the germination. And you want this to germinate as fast and as thorough as it can, you know, because you need as much tonnage that it'll produce, because it's going to get grazed on really heavy. That's what you want. And we're going to, on this particular area, we're going to go in and change the format here. We've had it 2 years now in annuals, and we're going to go in with a perennial 5-year food plot of Alpha Rack Plus. This land sort of slopes. It's high ground. It holds moisture somewhat, but it's high ground. So we're going to go in with an alfalfa blend from Whitetail Institute. Alpha Rack Plus has some clover for the low areas, but as this slopes off, the advantage of the Alpha Rack, the alfalfa, is a deep-rooted perennial, and that's going to go down into the ground quite a bit deeper than what your clover does. The clover is a shallow-rooted perennial, which does well in wet, low ground. But up here on the high ground, as we pan around here, you'll see it sort of slopes off to the east. And sometimes I get a seed bed and then I get erosion on it. So I'm going to go in here and change this over. After 2 years of putting it in an annual, I put organic matter by plowing it under, limed it and fertilized it. Now I want to test it and see what the pH level is. And that's really critical. For you guys that get drawn into these food plots and you go to your big box stores, the worst one out there is the Throw and Grow advertisement. It has a smiley face character on the front of the package that you all know, and Revere apparently. They put him on that package, or her, whatever you want to go with today, and that entices you to come and buy it. If they put the instructions on the front of that package, you may realize that it's just not as simple as throw and go. But we're in a come and go, get and go society. Everybody wants to do it with the minimal amount of effort, minimal amount of expense. And that doesn't work in a food plot. Naturally, here in Iowa, you can throw a seed down, you will get germination. Now whether you get maximum germination or not, that's up to what you put into it. Your body is a lot like a food plot. You go to a doctor and he draws blood. They send it off to a laboratory. They give you the results and tell you what you're lacking, and then to bring that back online to get your body functioning right, burning up all the essential minerals and vitamins in it. May put you on a supplement, a vitamin or some kind of a corrective measure to get your body back in line. Same way with a food plot. What you're doing is drawing blood from it. That way when you send it off to the laboratory, they're going to tell you what you need to do to correct the pH level to get all the vitamins and minerals into the root system of your crop that you're trying to grow, whether it be a perennial or an annual. And for you guys that forego the food plot, the soil sample, that's your right. But don't bitch when you get minimal or miserable results, because when you plant these food plots, you're going to have a lot of grazing. It's going to come in, and that's what you want. And if you don't have it up to the maximum, whatever be a quarter acre, a half acre, an acre, when you draw that kind of wildlife in there, they're going to come to the smorgasbord and they'll browse it down, and it's gone before you even get any benefit from it. So do a soil sample and get it right from the get-go. And then it's still a gamble whether Mother Nature is going to help out in the duration of the growing season. But do your soil samples, get it off to the lab, and then follow their instructions. So let's get on with the soil sampling. Yeah, you want to take these samples on a variety of places, and this little tool is really good. It'll get you right down to the depth you want to be. Push it down in there. You got your core there. That's going to get it. Now you take your sample and push it out. Get it pushed out into your bucket. And that's going to tell you what you got to have. Anyhow, and then when you get that done, you put that in that bucket, and as you collect your bucket full, you'll blend that together and you'll put it in your little bag, soil sample bag. It shows, fill it up to this line, and you take it to your laboratory. And then they're going to tell you. So we'll go about doing that quite a few places. Just don't do it in one spot. Get a general temperature of the ground that you're going to do it in. So that's about all you have to do. Like I say, you push that little apparatus down to the ground, it fills it up, and then you put it in a bucket, mix it together, then take it out, put it in a bag, and send it to your laboratory of choice. Yeah, as you notice, we get back in here in these secluded areas. You really see the line that we've made here. Now, we want the food plot to be elongated and then funnel down to areas to where you have a marginable shot. Now if you look over here, I got a tree stand in that tree right over there. A ladder stand you can just see in that group of trees right there. Let's zoom it in here a little bit. Anyhow, and what that does, you have a variety of shapes, but no circles. Now, they get squeezed down in this area, and so when they pass by a tree stand in this situation, you have a perfect shot for that wind. That would be a southwest wind stand. And they have to funnel through here, or when you have it to where they're following that timber line, condensed down, that you can get that shot. Now come on over here and I'll show you another trick when you're setting these up. Now as this opens up into a wider area, if you had the muzzle loader or the shotgun, if you were setting it up for a gun, this would be a good situation, because you know they're going to be grazing on here, and you can have a 40-yard shot thereabouts with your shotgun, you know, and you know, you can set back and shoot a greater distance with a gun. That's a given. But for the bow situation, you try to encourage the funneling down. Now when you take your trees out, if you take trees out, and you should take some trees out, because you got to open these timbers up and get some new regrowth in them. You notice you made a barrier right there, and then that funnels down up here. It gets really tight again up here, but that way the deer have to commit themselves into these areas where you're going to get your 10-yard, 15-yard shot. They're going to come in, they're going to graze. They can't get around the situation because you've created barriers as you've taken trees down and lined the course with them, which, you know, that's what you're trying to do, is get a up-close shot. So it's whatever you want to do. Now when you get back over in this area, it widens out a little bit, but still small enough to grow a sizable food plot. But here again, you funneled it down, and then you have your stand over here for a northwest wind, northwest, northeast wind, whatever. And you can get in here undetected. But there again, you try to keep these food plots irregular and long-wise. That way the deer have to feed along them and let them pass by the timber where you'll have your stand in. If you make them too big in a situation, you want to have acreage, but you know, as much acreage as you can have in your instance, and everybody's going to be different, but you want to be able to funnel them down in a certain area. That way it condenses them down. They're going to travel that pattern. So just things to keep in mind if you're going to get aggressively on setting up food plots. Preparation comes into play immensely. And if you're a bow hunter, you can really create your own situation to where it works in your advantage by condensing these spots down. Now here again, we got a pinch point. Close it down, brings them down, funnels them in, past the stand. That's what you're trying to do, not just go out and, you know, these would be what I'd call hunting plots. And other plots where they're going to head to, that's a destination plot. And a lot of times you won't even shoot nothing off of them because they're too big. And, you know, they're again at the choice of weapon. Naturally, if you had a gun, you could hunt your destination plot. But the bad part about hunting a destination plot is they'll quit going there during the daylight if they're pressured. So you want to get back in here in these seclusive spots. So let's get this last soil sample taken and get on down the highway. Here's a good situation right here, folks. When you look at this dirt, I'll put some of that up there. Doesn't get any blacker than that. And that's really black. And it's probably capable of growing something tremendous. But without taking that soil sample test, you don't know how acidic it is. And you can't taste it. You've seen me eat dirt before, so I'm not even going to go that route. I'm serious. Even though it's black, doesn't mean that it's ready for you to plant on. That's why it's so critical to take these soil samples to make sure you can unlock what's in here and get it into that seed that you've purchased. So let's wander on up and get another soil sample. Okay, we've taken our soil samples. We've got quite a little bit of dirt in there. And now we want to mix that all together. But you can see we're way back here in the timber. You want to take several of these soil samples so you can get a good reading of what it is. And that way the laboratory got a good mix of dirt when you take it to them, instead of just one specific area. So that's it from the non-typical Norwalk, and we'll get this mixed up, put it in the bag, and get it off to the laboratory, and hopefully here by the 1st of August will be time to plant.